Hi, Barry here. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Canon C300 Mark III. It's virtually identical to the C500 Mark II, weighing only 1.75 kilos, and it has a 12G 4K SDI output in exactly the same way. But unlike the C500, it has a Super 35 sensor, not full frame. Probably my biggest criticism about this camera is its name. It is called the C300 Mark III, which suggests that it's very similar to the C300 Mark II, but it's in fact a brand new camera with a brand new sensor. It accepts exactly the same accessories and expansion units as the C500 Mark II. So if you choose to, you can turn it into a proper 4K documentary camera with 4 separate audio inputs and a proper OLED viewfinder, which some people like to do. It's light and compact, responsive, has customizable controls in exactly the way that people expect from Canon. This brand new sensor utilizes a dual gain output, which gives over 16 stops of dynamic range. It's quite interesting, but its name shouldn't be confused with dual ISO. What it actually does is it takes 2 separate exposures of the sensor, one prioritizing clean shadows and the other the highlights, and then it puts it together into a composite HDR image, and it works really well. And it also helps with exposure as well, because you don't need to worry about slightly overexposing a raw image. And it also means that the noise is lower as well. In fact, it's appreciably lower than most other cameras. Simply trust that the Rec 709 exposure will be spot on and the in-body metering will be more useful. The 4K 120 frames per second is impressive in this camera too. It has much cleaner images than previous models, a great upgrade. And the autofocus is simply brilliant. We've had a play with it, and it's our favorite function. It's snappy, and you can have so many different functions, so there's absolutely no chance of the focus going in and out, which used to be the big problem with autofocus. The inbuilt lens corrections include peripheral illuminator correction, chromatic aberration correction, and diffraction correction. Audio-wise, it's pretty much identical to the C500 Mark II. There's a built-in mic, 3.5mm jack, and 2 XLR inputs. And you can control up to 4 channels and make one of them a safe track at a lower input if you want. Raw images are notoriously large, so Canon have pioneered their Canon Cinema Raw Light codec, which works really well. For example, a 512 gig CF Express card can record for 64 minutes in this format. And as a comparison, XF AVC or MXF at 810 megabits per second will only result in 79 minutes. It has 2 slots of the CF Express, and you can either record simultaneously or relay the recordings for spillover recordings so that you don't lose anything. To conclude, we love this camera. It does pretty much everything that the C500 Mark II will do in Super 35 rather than full frame. If you're looking for a good documentary camera with the regular Canon format and workflow that we've all come to love, you won't have to look any further. Hire it now from VMI.